Alright, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today, talking about something that isn't actually breaking news at the present moment, but because it actually happened a little bit ago, and I haven't been keeping y'all up to date on some of the bull crap that's going to be coming from the ATF because, hey, a lot of y'all don't want to actually know my personal opinions with all this stuff. I'm not really going to talk about the New York City mayoral. I think it was just the primary elections, but I'm not going to talk about that because to me that I just don't really see it as something that I can really add any value to the conversation in. From either a forecasting standpoint, I don't know enough about New York to say who's going to win the primaries of either one. Make even a hunch other than just looking at the polling and saying, hey, the polling says this person's probably going to win, so this person's probably going to win. I'm trying to be, honest and transparent about that stuff. Anyway, as always, likes, comments, subscriptions, they always do help, and I greatly appreciate them. And y'all know the drill. I'd love to reach 1,000 subscribers. Liking and commenting, of course, helps the algorithm not hate me. And today we're talking about the proposed pistol brace weapon, pistol brace rule that the ATF is pushing forward. Now, for me, I don't really care. If I want to have a short barrel on a rifle, I'm just going to do the paperwork that the NFA requires. But there's a lot of people out there who don't want to have to do that paperwork and want to have something that's legal and fun to shoot. And the truth is, actually, hilariously, short-barreled rifles and shotguns are less effective as weapons because physics. Basically, a shorter barrel length means you have less muzzle velocity. That's why pistols are pretty crap, actually. The only reason a pistol is still even relevant in any firearms discussion is because of concealability. And I think that's the issue here. But when we talk about short barrel rifles and shotguns and people trying to legally declare them as pistols, I want you to think about something. I'm going to try and extend this. That's about 6 inches, so twice that would be... So this is about a foot right here. And I'm just using my hand span, maybe a little bit longer than that. Truth is, you're not really going to be able to conceal a gun that is over really this, definitely this length, but really over about 7 or 8 inches in total overall length. It's just not going to happen. So, unless you're wearing some sort of special clothing that would make it concealable. So I want y'all to keep that in mind as we go through all of this proposed rules. And here's the issue. The ATF does not have the authority to make law. All of this doesn't matter, even if they implement this. This is their interpretation of what it is. But the problem is, because of the way the federal bureaucracy works, and the way Congress has delegated most of its power to agencies like the ATF, the IRS, the EPA, the RESPECT, agencies can effectively create laws that the rest of us have to follow just because Congress is lazy. This is supposed to be an enforcement arm. And I would be okay with them publishing their interpretations if their interpretations made any sense on the basis of fact. Now, the last time we talked about guns on this channel, I basically just went through the whole thing about really why it isn't possible to regulate a lot of this stuff, considering how easy it actually is to build a working, functional firearm that is actually decently usable. Praise be to our Lord and Savior, P.A. Ludi. Slight sacrilegious joking aside, the proposed rules go, for example, let's talk about the prerequisites, right? Before a rifle, which might be considered an SBR, has to go through, the weapon must weigh at least 64 ounces, aka 4 pounds, and the weapon must have an overall length between 12 and 26 inches. And that right then and there is the big issue. Because the NFA, which this is supposed to be an enforcement of, says nothing about the overall length of the weapon. A short barrel rifle or shotgun is merely a rifle or shotgun with a barrel that is shorter than 16 inches per the National Firearms Act of 1934. Overall length has nothing to do with it. And so any ATF rule that fits this, automatically their second prerequisite, just you can ignore it. As long as the barrel is over 20 inches, as long as the barrel is over 16 inches, you don't have to, this is meaningless. You can just say, hey, my barrel fits NFA requirements, which is the only requirement, and you would have decent grounds. If you have a good defense team, you would have decent, or I guess prosecution team, a good litigating team, you would have decent grounds to get this entire thing overturned just because of their prerequisites here. And I hope somebody does. I really do. Because the ATF needs to get smacked in the face by the court system. And then they need to get smacked again, and again, and again, until they get it in their heads that they are an enforcement arm, not a legislation arm. Now, of course, it has to meet both prerequisites in order to move to Section 2. Again, weight of the weapon has nothing to do with NFA regulations. So if I have a weapon that would break all of the other rules within this, and it is less than 4 pounds, hey, oh, by the way, that's unloaded weight, then, hey, guess what? I don't have to follow the NFA with regards to short barrel rifles and short barrel shotguns. I can have a 2-inch barrel as long as the gun is 26 inches long or less than 12 inches. I'm still following the NFA according to the ATF. Even if by the letter of the National Firearms Act, I would be breaking it. And I may do a video on how terrible Chipman is as a potential nominee, but I don't think my liver could take it. Now, let's talk about accessory design. We're talking about braces, right? We're talking about the part of the gun, the stock or brace. Basically, it comes from the butt of the gun and you use it to shoulder it or stabilize the weapon. So, if your accessory, your stabilizing arm, whatever you want to call it, is not based off of a known shoulder stock design, cool, you got no points. Assuming, of course, prerequisites, right? Oh, and by the way, you only need 4 points on Section 2. You only need 4 points in order to break the law. And I'm going to talk to you about just how easy it is. Now, if it incorporates shoulder stock design features, which that is so vague that a book could be could probably be construed. A good lawyer could probably say that a book contains shoulder stock design features. or if it's based on a known shoulder stock design. Now, the first one is 1 point, this is 2 points. Again, okay. I mean, it's extremely vague, and I really don't see that ending up. Basically, everything is going to get probably 1 or 2 points right off the bat. Sorry about that. Phone decided to go off. Alright. Rear surface area. Device incorporates features to prevent the use as a shouldering device. So basically, if you had little spikes coming out of the buttstock, that would realistically prevent you from shouldering it, then that would get 0 points. Minimized rear surface lacking features to discourage shouldering. I have no earthly idea what that's going to be used to mean. I think anybody who only does... I think the ATF is never going to use that, simply because no one knows what it means, and they're going to argue that everything can be used to shoulder the firearm, including the bare buffer tube. Rear surface useful for shouldering the firearm. Useful for shouldering the firearm. Basically, this just means that you can, put it up against your shoulder with reasonable, usage. Just saying, hey, a normal person might try to shoulder this, and it probably wouldn't hurt them. And that's 2 points right there, and considering that they're almost certainly going to give you a 1 or a 2 on this category, you're going to very quickly find yourself either at 3 or 4 points. And right there, that's a felony. Even if previously the ATF considered your gun perfectly legal, they're going to now come to your house and shoot your dog. Because now you're in possession of an NFA item without the proper paperwork. Because we changed our minds. The ATF, honestly, the ATF needs to be abolished. They are by far the worst government agency. And second place is a distance spanning the width of the entire known universe times 2. That is how bad the ATF is. The ATF basically exists to violate your rights, because that's all their regulations ever do. The bump stock ban is the definition of an ex post facto. They said, yeah, these aren't even guns. We're not going to regulate them as such. Yeah, they're perfectly legal. Go ahead, make as many as you want. And then in 2017, when all of a sudden public sentiment turned against them, people knew what they were and that they allowed you to simulate automatic fire, all of a sudden, the ATF says, no, now these are machine guns. Turn them all in. We're not giving you money for them, and you can't keep them, or else you're going to prison and your dog is getting shot. That right there is illegal because it is an ex post facto. Basically, they took something that is perfectly legal, made it illegal, and decided to punish everybody who decided to keep theirs. Saying, hey, this was perfectly legal when I purchased it. And that's all an ex post facto is the punishing of somebody for doing something in the past that was perfectly legal. Basically, this would be like if somebody had a jar of cannabis that they had purchased when it was still legal, and then the government breaks down their door and arrests them because they continued to have it in their home after it was made illegal. And the government cannot do that per our Constitution. Article 1, I want to say it's Section 1 or 2, Clause 9. Anyway, of course, there's also the material added to increase rear surface for shouldering. Whatever that means, basically. And all that can be is, let's say I put a towel on the pistol brace that I have that was perfectly legal beforehand. The ATF will say, oh, that's now a stock. There's 3 points right there. And based off of the first section, accessory design, congratulations, I now have a felony. See how stupid this gets? Adjustability. A non-adjustable fixed design is 0 points. But considering anything automatically gets you 1 point, this doesn't really help you. Adjustable or telescoping attachment design for shouldering is 2 points. Doesn't say whether or not designed features, but whatever. At least that one is pretty clear, because it's easy to say what's adjustable and what's not. Then again, lawyers can be lawyers. Stabilizing support. Counterbalance design, non-folding, is 0. Counterbalance design that folds, creating rear contact surface, is 1 point. Or fin type design with the arm strap is 0 points. A fin type design without the arm strap is 2. So basically, taking off the strap that would allow you to wrap it, that would wrap around your arm, putting the fin, say, right here, so that when you fire backwards, it's actually anchored to your arm. That with it on is 0 points, regardless of the fact that you can probably still shoulder it. Without the arm strap, however, you take that off, all of a sudden it's 2 points, because you're saying, yes, I'm going to shoulder it. Absolutely. Even though the ATF just a few years ago said, yeah, it's perfectly okay to shoulder your pistol braces. And of course, because I think the only fin type designs would count as 2 points, you take off the arm strap, that's a felony. A cuff type design that wraps fully around the arm is 0 points. One that partially wraps around the arm is 1, and a cuff type that fails to wrap around the arm is 2 points. A split stock configuration not designed to wrap around the shooter's arm, but what about ones that are? Well, where does that count? And that's 3. We go down to the next section, and we actually have some, for once, mechanical stuff. But length of pull is basically just where the distance between the end of the gun and the trigger. When I say the end of the gun, the end of the stock, right? Now, you do have to have over 4 to get moved on to Section 3, but considering how easy it is to get into 4, well, you're screwed. Now, in Section 3, if you get a score of over 4 points, that's a felony. And trust me, it's way too easy to get 4 points in either of these, but the ease of getting 4 points in Section 3 is so ridiculously easy that no. Less than 10.5 inches is 0. And then you can read up on that, but 13.5 inches is 4, and that's an automatic felony. Even if you have a 16-inch barrel on it, which is perfectly legal, you've just committed a felony. Even though your gun does not violate the NFA, the ATF says, no, it does. Kiss Fido goodbye, we're going to shoot him. Attachment method. Standard AR buffer tube of 6 to 6.5 inches, 0 points. AR buffer tube with adjustment notches is 1. An adjustable rifle buffer tube is 1. Adjustable PDW type guardrails is 1. An extended buffer tube is 2. Inclusion of a folding adapter extending the length of pull is 2. Use of spacers to extend length of pull. Modified shoulder stock with the rear replaced by stabilizing brace is 3 points. And attachment method creates an unusable aim point is 3 points. Okay. With strap too short to function is 2. Strap made out of an elastic material is 2. Well, what defines elastic there, Mr. ATF man? Fin type, lacking an arm strap, is 2. Cuff type with the strap removed, felony. Brace accessory modified for shouldering, felony. And they're going to say every brace is modified for shouldering because you can just literally put it on your shoulder. Modified shoulder stock, basically something that was originally a shoulder stock, that's an automatic felony. But what counts as modified? Genuine question here. Because let's say you have a gun that you have painted the shoulder stock. Would that count as modification? Because you have changed it from its factory fresh settings. Even if the gun would be perfectly legal in stock configuration, what if you paint the shoulder stock? Does that count as a modification? Peripheral accessories, presence of a hand stop, that's 2. Presence of a secondary grip, indicating two-handed fire, that's a felony. Presence of rifle-type backup, flip-up sights, or no sights is 1 point. Now, see, this is ridiculous. Presence of a reflex sight with FTS magnifier with limited eye relief is 2 points. Presence of a sight or scope with eye relief incompatible with one-handed fire, 4 points. That's a felony. So, you want to look cool and have a Han Solo blaster where you slightly modify a Mauser broom handle pistol and put a scope on it? Congrats, you're a felon. Oh, you want to look cool and put a scope on your revolver? You say your 500 Magnum revolver that you use for hunting moose? Actually, people do go hunting with revolvers being their primary weapon, and a lot of them put scopes on their pistols. Congratulations, they're felons now. The presence of a bipod or a monopod. What counts as a bipod or a monopod? That's 2 points. The weapon as configured weighing more than 10 pounds. That's a felony. And again, it's weighted with the magazine but unloaded. At the end of the day, it's ridiculous. It is way too easy to violate this checklist, and it redefines what is an SBR and an SBS under the NFA, which the ATF has no authority to do. Only Congress has the authority to do that. So basically, the ATF is just trying to bully American citizens, and it's going to get a hell of a lot worse if Chipman gets nominated, okay? Just flat out, it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. In reading this, there's so much ambiguity. There is so much room for the average person to say, no, that's perfectly reasonable. The ATF will look at it and say, nope, you're going to prison, and we're going to shoot your dog. Anyway, I'm angry enough. I'm going to go bowling. Take it easy, y'all. Have a very, very lovely evening, and I'll see y'all next time.